Today we're looking at Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, and we classify the two areas that we spent the most time on is number one, the improvements to Lara Croft and her model, and number two, the visual storytelling in the world. So if we take a look at Lara, you'll see that we have the Tress Effects technology that we worked with AMD on, and that's been rewritten so that it works on consoles and it gives incredibly lifelike physics to her hair. You can see that we have subsurface scattering so that the light, it really reacts and behaves appropriately with Lara's skin. We've got dynamic materials so that the brutality of her journey across Yamatai is really made evident when you can see the sweat and the dynamic water and blood and mud that gets all over her skin. And then finally, we completely rebuilt her character model. So this is our first version of what a new next-gen Lara Croft looks like. Then you take a look at the world, and you can see that everything is moving. We really wanted it to feel like even when Lara Croft stops moving, the world does not. So the trees move with the breeze, the foliage bends as Lara makes her way through it. It's all part of a complex world simulation engine to really make it feel like this is a very immersive and living space. All the textures are at 4 times the resolution, and the gameplay is at a native 1080p, so it really allows us to showcase the visual fidelity of Yamatai in a way that was never before possible. This really does represent the aesthetic goal that we had in our developer's eye, when we first started developing Tomb Raider. One of the other areas that we focused on, not just the physics in the world, but also on Lara herself. You can see that her arrows, they jostle around in the quiver, her bow moves as she's making her way across the environment. Her iconic climbing axe, where she doesn't have just yet in this area of the game, but when she does get it, it'll swing very realistically from her hip. Even her pendant, this was actually a fan request. Her jade pendant is its own physics object. So this again just lends that level of immersion and detail where Lara just feels like a very relatable character. You can see with the rebuilt face, the level of detail and the emotion that we can convey in Lara's eyes, and really helps to sell moments like this. The next area that we're looking at is the World War II SOS bunker. And this is another great example of the level of detail that we went in and added to the world. You can see that where the water's dripping down, it refracts Lara's image and the light behind it. You can see that again, there's so much more particle effects in the air. We added anywhere from 5 to 15 times the particles. The foliage is moving around her.
Hey, get that damn gun off me!
You can see that the spotlight is actually lighting the particles from the rain. So this is something that's completely new. Again, adds that level of detail. If you look around, you see the cloth blowing. You can look up in the canopy and see the trees. The lightning will light up the particles of the rain. You get a little bit of the distortion effect on the barrel where it's burning. And then we also added some more visual storytelling elements where you can see that we added debris on the ground. We went in and added pools of water to really sell that there was this, harsh storm going on. It's just another way that we can really help the player become even more immersed in the world. Really try and capture that feeling of what it was like. You can see, as I mentioned earlier, where Lara's climbing axe is swinging It's a physics object that has actual realistic behavior on her hip now. You can see that as she's creeping up the stairs.
I need help! You're mine!
After we dispatch these enemies, you can see the pools of water on the ground, how the enemy, when he collapsed, he sent a ripple through it. So again, that level of detail, just something that was only in our mind's eye when we first started developing the game. Now we're looking at an area called the Great Escape. And Lara obviously has to get away from Matthias.
But we'll kill our own people! Any other non-believers?
So we love this area because not only does it just showcase these beautiful explosions, tons and tons of particles in the air,
Taking fire! Everybody get fire now!
Wait!
see the flame effects. You can see that the smoke is actually its own physics simulation. It's pooling up on the ceiling. It's making its way up from the fire. So this isn't smoke to try and hide something. This is smoke for the atmosphere. You know, it's additive to the experience. And this is an area that Brian Horton, our senior art director, you know, he took a lot of time to really rework this because it was one of his favorite areas in the game, and he viewed this as one of the pivotal moments in the adventure. So while we obviously went in and rebuilt everything, this in particular, this area with the escape and with the fire effects, he really wanted you to feel like you were just in the middle of this raging inferno. The last area that we're taking a look at is the shipwreck beach. And this area in particular really highlights the draw distance, just, you know, how incredibly far you can see. On the previous generation of consoles, we had to add fog, you know, we had to blur things out in the background. We had to do a lot of things to really try and hide what was going off far, far in the distance. But now everything is at the actual high level of visual fidelity that it will always be. There's no fog. It's, you know, it's almost like a veil can be lifted where everything has that huge level of detail. You can even see there's a little bit of, you know, depth of field on the camera where foliage will blow and blur where it gets close to the camera. So we really love this area because, again, just with all the different lighting effects, with the ocean being a completely random, you know, looking at all the waves out there. Even little touches like these seagulls where we just went in and added a few hundred more seagulls flying by just to really sell that moment. You know, this area just really showcases the desolation and just exactly how many people's lives were ruined by the island of Yamatai. That was a quick look at some of the areas in Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, and really wanted to highlight how we brought next-gen Lara to the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, and also how we added that level of visual storytelling and immersion to the world. So we're really excited. We can't wait for it to be in everyone's hands. It comes out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 on January 28th in North America and on the 31st in Europe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.